Before I begin, I want to say that I saw a rainbow the other day, and I wondered why is a rainbow always in that wonderful curved arch? So I looked it up. I know that rainbows are caused by sunlight passing through water droplets, which act as prisms, presenting that light to my eye in the split form of the visible spectrum, which is violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. The light exists in the curved shape because, geometrically, a circle is exactly equidistant from my eyes, meaning that the light from that circle will arrive simultaneously, causing me to see that almost tangible arch. I have been told that if I were up in an airplane and conditions were right, I would be able to see the entire circular color wheel. Newton, I think, did a lot of work with light and prisms and wrote a book on optics, but of course that is overshadowed, if I can use that metaphor, by his magnum opus with the great three laws on the predictable and measurable action of objects in space, the Principia Mathematica. But that is why rainbows are always and only in that gigantic, brilliantly hued semicircle. Okay. I did one of these on Frankenstein, and it's not the first one I've done on the story, but the two were different enough, I think, to make each one of some interest. My main takeaway this more recent time was not the mad scientist who overreaches in his investigations of nature, but the nurture part of it, the way he completely abandons his creature and all the evil that results from that regrettable choice. When I think about this, basically the care of dependents, children, the foster care system comes to mind. The word foster, I get it, but it has an odd ring to me. Foster, children, foster care. It's supposed to foster, but all too often it does not. I wouldn't say that it is evil. Rather, I would say that it is apparently the best we can do, and it isn't very good at all. In some cases, it is very bad, others even worse, and every so often an instance will come to light that is so terrible, usually involving a fatality or horrendous abuse, that there will be talk about finding money and improving the system, but that fades away, and what we have, which is none too good, continues. Most of us have all we can handle with our own lives, and taking on the responsibility for another human being is a lot to ask, a huge burden. So children without parents are either living in a group home where they are looked after, if not loved, or they are placed in homes in which the situation is, shall we say, not ideal. As the twig is bent, so grows the tree, and these children, many, maybe most of them, are bent, twisted grotesquely, or broken. We can feel bad about this, maybe even donate some money, but that's not going to result in meaningful change. What the children need is what the creature needed: love. There's an ad now on TV that offends me. It has a good intent, urging people to get involved with foster care. It's conducted by a young lady who gained fame as a superlative gymnast, an Olympic champion. She says that she benefited from foster care. But if I recall her life, her father was absent and her mother was a drug addict. Her maternal grandparents took legal custody of her and then adopted her, making their grandchild their daughter, and that is how they raised her. It's an inspiring story, but it is very clearly not an example of the good works of the foster care system. I bless anyone who took in a foster child and gave them love. This reflection on nurture and the obligation a creator owes to what they have made also led me to think a little, because a little is all I can do, about God. There are people in the world who are suffering abominably because of poverty, war, drought, plagues, whatever, and I wonder how they picture their God, if they believe in one. I wonder if they feel abandoned by their God. Religions try to cover this base with stories like the one of Job, who loses everything: his family, his fortune, his property, his health, but he will not lose his faith in his God, a story which is meant to inspire and instruct all who hear it. God still loves you, and you must love God, even if your life has been blasted into ruins, and every moment that you live is filled with nothing but ceaseless pain and suffering. That was the fate of the creature in the story about Frankenstein, and his sole object in life was to gain revenge, to murder and destroy. He became a fiend, a devil, so that others, especially his creator, would know the misery he felt. I imagine this is true for those who as children find not rainbows, unicorns, and love, but rejection, fear, sorrow, and pain. As the twig is bent, you want another? What goes around comes around, sometimes with a vengeance.